So, welcome to Monster Talk. This is another one of our Based on a True Story series that we're doing where we're looking at the facts behind famous horror movies. Today, we're covering a movie some of you may have heard of called The Exorcist. And to cover that material, we have our regular co-host, Karen.
Hi guys. Good to be here. And yeah, I think this is said to be the most frightening horror movie of all time. So
It's pretty good.
This is a fun one, and we're joined by Matthew Baxter as well. This is, I think, his favorite movie.
Yeah, I might be growing out of it at this point, but I've seen the movie probably 50 times, maybe.
Wow.
Do you get it now?
Yeah. It was.
I think he can recite every line.
Wow.
I never understood the joke about I need an old priest and a young priest. Now I get it.
Now you get it. Yeah, so this is a movie from 1973. It's directed by
Billy Friedkin.
Oh yeah, William Friedkin. Yeah. So I was freaking out there for a second. But it's based on the novel.
I handed that one to you, didn't I?
Thank you. So yeah, it was based on the novel by William Peter Blatty from 1971. Mm-hmm. And Blatty's novel itself is allegedly based on a true story. And I guess we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And we're also going to talk about the alleged curse of the motion picture and how people reacted to this, because it was one of the first real blockbusters. Literally had people lining up around the block.
And vomiting.
So, yeah.
Not at the same time.
No. But yeah, I mean, lots of movies. Like we've talked on Monster Talk before about movies like movies by William Castle, who had these sort of gimmicks, having a nurse in the lobby of the theater or handing out barf bags, that sort of thing. But this movie had people fainting and throwing up and doing all kinds of interesting things.
Running immediately to the nearest Catholic church.
Yeah. It led to a big spike in Americans' religiosity, I would say. So.
Yeah, they've got lots to say about that, and what the producers Jew as well, and talking about an ancient god that's not Catholic, or an ancient
Mesopotamian deity.
Deity.
Yeah. So who Blake actually has a head of.
I do. So
that explains everything.
Yeah.
All the bad luck.
We'll talk about all these things. Let's start though. Since you love this movie, Matthew, you want to tell us the basic plot of the film for people who may not have seen it, or should they just pause here and go watch it and come back?
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, pause and then come back.
It's a great family movie too. Just something for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I saw it when I was 11. The first time. Yep. So. Yeah, I was terrified because, she was 12 in the movie. So I thought, oh no, I've got a year. Before I get possessed, because that's how it goes. So yeah, it was terrifying. But yeah, basically what you've got is this priest who has been through a lot of his career battling this one particular demon that has it's plagued him, I guess you could say. So yeah, in Africa, when he was younger, he was a missionary, and he had to do an exorcism on this young boy. No, this is not in the movie. This is just a little behind the story information for you. And so he's come to know this demon rather well. And the beginning of the movie is that demon saying, "You better get ready, because here I come again," much like a damn Yankees song. So we switch to Georgetown. Is that Maryland, Washington, D.C.
Is it
area?
D.C.? Yeah. Yep.
And it's this actress and her young daughter are staying there as she's filming a movie. And she finds a Ouija board. The little girl finds a Ouija board, and the father's not in the picture. So I think any kind of father figure is good, but not always when the father figure is named Captain Howdy. That can be a big problem. But the little girl ends up getting possessed. A priest that is having problems of faith, that is also a psychologist.
A young priest, right?
Yes, the young priest in this story. He doesn't believe that she's, possessed until it gets to a point that he thinks maybe it's possible. So they bring in this older priest who happens to be the priest who knows this demon. And they come in and they do battle. And it's epic. And the moral of the story is, I don't know. I'm still lost there. I don't know what the moral is.
It's pretty immoral.
Don't get possessed. Yeah, it's a great
away
movie.
from Captain Howdy. So
yeah, I love the there's all these big themes around people who've lost their faith, and the young priest spends a lot of time testing the demon to see if it's real or if it's fake. In the
Which
book,
fits in with the lore about demons as well, that
yeah,
to be possessed, that you need to show these particular signs, and to be able to speak multiple languages or different languages that haven't been learnt by the person, and
feats of strength. You gotta have feats of strength, and you gotta have unknowable knowledge, and all that kind of stuff. So
it's just a brilliant horror movie. But I think one of the things that always amazed me was how it bled over so much into people believing it was real. And I think obviously it starts out by being based on a true story, in the sense that was part of the narrative around the marketing, but also they use a lot of authentic Catholic wording around the ritual. And I mean, parts of it, like, they seem to like really push towards verisimilitude, and then parts of it, what the demon gets up to is way over the top, like famously the head spinning scene, where that just isn't possible. Like,
no one's coming back from that.
Right.
When you said famously, I thought you were going to talk about another scene. And
well, there's so many famous scenes in this movie.
There really are. I think they were very shocking for their time.
I do have to say about the head spinning thing is that one of the powers of these demons is to make you think you're seeing something that you're not actually seeing. So you could file that under that her head didn't actually spin. She created the illusion that everyone thought her head was spinning. Whether or not that was the intention of Blatty, I don't know. But I know that is one of the things, is that the demon likes to fool you, likes to trick you, likes to make you think you're seeing things. These illusions, like, it turning into Damien Karras's mother sitting on the bed. It didn't literally turn into her mother. It was an illusion.
Well, speaking like the old bum, also,
yeah.
But
can we talk just a little bit about the mythology behind this? Because this, I don't think that they were actually a Catholic family, were they?
No.
And so then they're I guess it's the doctors who suggest that she gets an exorcism, but I don't think it's because they have any belief that she is truly possessed.
Right.
It's just a suggestion because they feel they've exhausted everything from a medical perspective.
Right. There might be psychological and these sort of psychosomatic symptoms, and therefore, if she believes it's demonic, then having her go through the ritual might be helpful. Is like cathartic. A psychological therapy. Yeah.
Right. But I just think it's interesting that they start with this archaeological dig in Iraq, and then they start talking about this Mesopotamian deity, and I'm just wondering what the connection is between Pazuzu, this deity, and the Catholic Church, and requiring an exorcism.
Well,
kind of confusing.
This is what's interesting, because it depends on where you get your information. Some people actually are under the impression that Pazuzu is a Judeo-Christian demon, that he was a fallen angel. But the truth is that, he was an ancient Sumerian deity, and his brother Humwawa is there with him, but he's not a Judeo-Christian deity either. So it's like, Christianity has, at certain points in history, adopted certain things into their sort of religion to be able to, as a part of their missionary work, in a sense. See, we have this too. See, we have this big cross, that you may think of as Thule, but we have the Yule log, and we have, we'll put his birth around Christmas, and And, we'll do these things to make you all feel comfortable and come into our religion. So I'm thinking that maybe Pazuzu was a part of that whole adoption thing, which is, adoption's great. Thank you. Those of you that adopt children. But he was a Mesopotamian or an ancient Sumerian kind of beast. And the only thing that they really say to tip you off, if you don't recognize the statue, which no one in 1973 would have recognized that statue. But if you didn't recognize that, the only other tip off they gave is Marin looking at that head from the dig and saying evil against evil, because Pazuzu is famous for that.
And then later on too, I think it's interesting that when the little girl Reagan is possessed, the demon says, "I'm Satan" or "I'm the devil."
He's a liar.
Actually doesn't refer to Pazuzu.
He's a bragger. Yeah, it's like, I'm the CEO of this company, right? Yeah,
I'm George Clooney.
Yeah, but the there's also in Christianity, there's a thing where people, since it's a monotheistic religion, they believe that all the other religions in the world are sort of powered by demons pretending to be God, or pretending to be gods. That's a really common, at least that's really common in Protestants, and I think in Catholicism too. But I think, and Pazuzu in particular was traditionally, like you say, he was a god who was used to ward off other gods. Was it Lamashku? I think Lamashku.
Like an evil eye god.
Yeah. And so you would use this sort of like, look at this badass thing. It's going to protect me from the other evil thing and protect my children. So it's interesting. I don't remember seeing Pazuzu turning up anywhere before Blatty's novel. So I'm not sure if this is something he came up with on his own, like from some of his other reading. I'd really like to find out that if I can. If we find anything on that, I'll put it in the show notes. So
excellent.
And so we've mentioned the effect that this movie had on people. I mean, this was to watch it today. Honestly, it seems a little bit dated to me. Some of the effects in there. We happened to watch I think it was the Blu-ray version,
the director's cut,
right?
And it's very crystal clear. And so to see some of that makeup up front, it just looks very fake, and just some of the effects. Now when she vomits, or one of the times that she vomits, is that actually pea soup? Is that because I've heard you joke about that, and I wasn't sure if it.
It was like a mixture of stuff, but peas made green. Yeah,
pea soup. Yeah. And the problem is that it was cold, so it was a little thicker than they expected. So when they put a little extra pressure to make it come out of the tubes, it rocketed out and hit him dead in the face. It wasn't supposed to do that. But
you don't want peas porridge hot, and you don't want peas porridge cold. And you don't. Oh, sorry.
To me, it does seem very dated, some of the effects, and I understand the movie itself is.
I mean, obviously, seeing it on the screen the first time, you don't get a chance to rewind and do any of that, and then your memories,
and the quality,
not that. But like now, like I saw it on VHS first, and the effects look remarkable. But now, if I look at it on a big 4K TV or whatever, suddenly Max von Sydow, the old priest, you can tell he's wearing makeup, but he aged to actually look so much like the character in the film. He recently passed away, and he was such a fantastic actor, but
he looked like he was in The Exorcist.
Exactly like that character for the rest of his life. He just kept aging into it. It was amazing.
Dick Smith is just such a great makeup artist, and he passed away just a few years ago as well. And he was the one who did the makeup on Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man for that old makeup. So he's excellent at that, and I thought his job on Max von Sydow was incredible. Although we don't really know Max von Sydow for The Exorcist as much as we know him for that fantastic movie he did in the 80s called Strange Brew with Bob and Doug McKenzie. That's really
3 days of the Condor, but
really where he broke out, I think.
When you say Dick Smith too, I think of the Australian entrepreneur, not a makeup artist.
Yeah, that's not that Dick.
Not that Dick. Yeah,
is that a real country?
maybe not anymore.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about people going and seeing this film. I heard that it was banned. I don't know where it was banned, maybe it was in the UK, because people were having allegedly heart attacks and they were vomiting and fainting. So did this kind of thing really go on?
Yes.
Yeah, but much like the story of the curse around the film, I think that the movie company themselves really latched onto that and promoted it to make it part of the marketing. It became kind of a dare film, you know.
Yeah.
I found some newspaper articles which I'll link to in the show notes, where in November, the movie came out in December of 73, and in November of 73 there were these articles. I think the main one was written by Rex Reed, the movie critic. I think he's still around. But it's a story about the movie being delayed, and the reason it was delayed. There's all this sort of litany of woes, these things that went wrong during the making of the movie. I wanted to see. I wanted to read that, but I was trying to see if I could find it.
Well, it was a very long production. It went way over budget. It went way over time. And when you're talking that amount of time, I mean, you had a set catch on fire. You had multiple deaths. And I think there were 9 deaths all the way around. But many of them were just really kind of tertiary, sort of deaths. It wasn't like the main actor died, or, so, but Burke Dent, the actor who played Burke Dennings, died. And I'm trying to think if there was anyone else major in the movie.
Yeah, can I read this little excerpt here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so it says, everybody in the movie experienced some kind of horror. Max von Sydow's brother died the day he arrived for his first scene, and the film was again delayed while he returned to Sweden for the funeral. The little girl's grandfather died the first week of the picture. One of the carpenters cut his thumbs off. Irish actor Jack McGowan, who plays the motion picture director who was murdered by the demon possessing the child, dropped dead 1 week after his death scene. The statue of the demon, which stands 10 feet tall, was shipped to Iraq in a box 15 feet tall for location scenes. Every freight company, including Flying Tigers, was involved in insuring the box, which was so big it could hardly be overlooked. Yet it was lost and ended up in Hong Kong, causing another 2-week delay. Then there was delay on the trip to Baghdad. I was supposed to go there in the cool spring, but because I was so behind schedule, I ended up going in the blazing hot summer when it was 130 degrees in the shade. Skipping a little bit, Ellen Burstyn's back was wrenched and she was out for 2 weeks. By the way, that injury did actually bother her and still bothers her now.
To this day.
This day. Max von Sydow, who is this big, strapping 6'5" guy, was out for a week in the middle of his big scenes. Jason Miller's 5-year-old son was struck down on an empty beach by a motorcycle that appeared out of nowhere, and his life was hanging in the balance for several weeks. And the special effects caused any number of injuries to the actor. The whole thing was a nightmare. So I mean, this was, now they don't say the word curse here, but this storyline that they're telling right here in November really like implying that there's something going on supernatural against the film. And there was a fire. There's all kinds of interesting things.
Priests come in and bless the sets. And
it all becomes this narrative of curse. And there's this there's a series, I know it's on Shudder, I'm not sure where else you might be able to find it, called Cursed Films. And the first episode is all about The Exorcist. And there's some fantastic interviews with different people involved in the film. And in one of the interviews, and I can't remember if it's in that documentary, if I saw it on YouTube, if I can find it separately, we can link to it. But it's Max von Sydow, and he's being interviewed. What about the cursed set? And he's like, it was 2 years of filming. Things happen. If you put them on a list, that doesn't make it a curse. So he was very much a skeptic guy.
Yeah, I love that, because you see ones by Ellen Burstyn, and it's cursed. And then you go switch to Max von Sydow, and he's like,
come on.
No.
Well, I think it's interesting to talk about some of the actors that they used too, because I believe that they were relatively unknown at the time. And I've heard that the actress, the main character, the mother of the little girl, was going to originally be cast. They were going to cast Audrey Hepburn.
Wow.
And that I think for the role of the young priest, they were going to use Marlon Brando or Jack Nicholson, wasn't it? And I just think it'd be a very different. Yeah, it would have been a very different film had they used those big name actors. So.
That would have been wild. Casting really matters.
John Wayne would have been good. I think is the young.
Yeah.
I should have the IMDb page open. I don't. Hold on just a moment.
But and then the great thing about the most of the priests in the movie, other than the two stars priests, they were actually priests. And I think that they brought a lot of authenticity to their roles just from that.
I think even the young priest, I think he had studied to become a Jesuit priest and then had lost his faith. And so they didn't originally cast him. That I think they'd cast someone else, and then had to break that contract because this guy said, this character is me. I want to play this character.
Yeah, I think it was Nicolas Cage that they cast.
But Jason Miller was the Father Karras,
yes,
and the young priest, and he does a really great job. I think he ended up having a lot of trouble with alcohol later in his career. I know he appears in
I think he was a theater
3.
actor originally.
Yes,
yeah.
He was. And when he appeared in The Exorcist 3, I saw that for the first time. I was not expecting to see his face. Yeah, and that made that all of a sudden authentic. That made this movie an Exorcist movie, because The Exorcist 2 didn't quite make it.
No.
Well, I think that's a good that's a good lead in to talk about all the different versions. I mean, there's not only the movie based on the book. There are sequels and television series. Matt, you want to tell us a bit about this as a big fan?
Well, you've got just the versions of the movie itself. You've got the original theatrical release. You've got the 25th anniversary version. You've got the version you've never seen. You've got the director's cut, and the Blu-ray version. You've got all these versions that as it goes on, don't have as much difference. When they started putting in the new CGI and stuff like that, it really ruined it for me.
When they replaced all the crosses with cell phones. So
yes, yeah. Oh, so annoying. Yeah.
Well, I did think it was annoying, and I think you didn't like it either, with the face of the demon kind of popping up.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Tacky.
Well, and to me, I get a little.
They changed it.
Yes, just a little.
What did they do? I don't know about this. Sorry. I've only seen the original.
So the original, it was terrifying all by itself.
Yeah, it was a woman with makeup. And what's her name again?
Are you talking about Eileen Dietz?
Yes, thank you, Eileen.
Yes.
Dietz.
Well, see, I have a little PTSD over that because I know Eileen.
You mean PTSD?
Yes.
Okay. Exactly.
That made it even worse. I know Eileen, and she's a bit terrifying in her own right. And the thing is now in the new versions of the movie, her face is popping up everywhere, and it's like, Eileen, go away, and she just won't.
But come on, Eileen.
Come on, Eileen. I swear. But so yeah, as time went by, they're adding in more of these things. Now, when Billy Friedkin originally took out a lot of the scenes that Billy Blatty wanted in, these Billies really started warring about it, and their friendship was ruined for quite some time. And then as they kind of buried the hatchet or the crucifix or whatever,
or the Billy Club.
Yes, the Billy Club. Oh my God, sometimes I hate you. They started the conversation again about putting those scenes back in. And Friedkin really only did it to appease his friend. He didn't really feel that they made the movie any better. And I agree with him, because a lot of those scenes, I think, weren't necessary. Sometimes it's nice to hear the conversation between the priests on the stairway, but there's something to them just sitting there in silence as well, So
I think one of the scenes that I didn't really like is where Regan goes down the stairs. She's a
spider walk.
A spider does the spider walk. I think it's just really cheesy and tacky, and then when she vomits up blood, it's cheesy.
Now, the original take of that was she wasn't supposed to vomit blood, but what she does is she flips over and she starts chasing one of the characters named Sharon with this long slithery tongue. This is like a snake, and she's chasing her, trying to lick her ankles, and her mother's trying to stop her, and that is just creepy. Her acting like this animal.
Having seen that, I think that was, I don't know, more believable, if we can say.
Well, it's more true to the book. That's how the book had it written. And the problem is that take there was something wrong with either the film aspect of it or the audio aspect of it, that they couldn't use it. So they used one of the other takes where they had her spitting out blood. And it was actually a contortionist that they had go down the stairs and then had a mouthful of blood. I thought that was terrible.
Which is impressive
pointless.
to see the contortionist, but it's just, it's tacky.
Yeah. So it was it was disappointing. But anyway, The Exorcist 2, Exorcist 3 was really good.
Yeah.
You know,
has a really great jump scare in it. I mean, a really really good.
It's considered the best jump scare in any film. And the first time I saw it, it'll get you. It'll get you. I felt like I had some rabbit raisins. So I had to empty out of my shorts. It was.
So what about all of the TV series as well?
We'll talk about that as well. But the thing is with The Exorcist 3, it should have been The Exorcist 2, because that was kind of the book. It was Legion, The Exorcist 2. And it takes place just a little while after The Exorcist. And so
that is that's a book.
So it's called Legion. Okay. And it's the characters, of Kinderman, the detective, and the friend of the young priest. And why is his name escaping me? Father Dyer, yeah. They're back, and then Jason Miller is back, and it's a great movie. I'm not going to say it's the best movie of all time, because it's not, but it is a very good movie, and it's so far above The Exorcist 2 that's it's the best attempt they've had.
They had to change. I think Lee J. Cobb had died, and so they used George C. Scott.
George C. Scott, yes.
Oh, and don't forget, we've covered the Changeling on the series before, so that was
So if you haven't seen our Changeling dotes based on a true story, go back and watch that. It's excellent.
That's a good one.
So but Lee J. Cobb is, he was fantastic in that role, but George C. Scott picks it up. It's not completely interchangeable, but he does a really good job as well. So
it's like when they replaced Darren on Bewitched,
couldn't tell.
Sergeant Dick York, Sergeant York. It's all
Dicks again, you guys.
Yes, I know.
Dicks. Yeah.
There's a lot of dicks in this. Exorcist 3, I recommend if you haven't seen it. And the jump scare, you'll know it when you see it. That's all I can say about that. But then they did 2 prequels.
Movies.
Did they?
Let's move on. See, the thing is, the director that was directing the first prequel, and his name escapes me, but he passed away partway through. So they brought in someone else.
The curse.
Yes, the curse got him. Brought someone else to finish it. The studio hated it, so they hired another director, Rennie
Harlan.
Yes.
Okay.
He started over, and he basically reshot the entire thing. That's the one that got released.
Replaced all the characters with Gina Davis.
Yeah. Except for
interesting.
Except for the character playing Marin, who was the guy who is also in Thor, and it's not Chris Hemsworth. We are doing great with the names.
Yes.
Today.
Well, there's so much to this.
There is so much.
In previous episodes of Based on a True Story, we've talked about one movie and the folklore behind it, but with this, this has just been, to this day, there are still new versions being made, and there's a lot of backstory.
Well, we
do want to get to that backstory as well, too.
Yes, we do. So the thing is now there's 2 Exorcist prequels being made. The one that gets released is The Exorcist: The Beginning, and then it was terrible. So the fans started screaming for the other one to be released. So it gets released, and it's the Jack Snyder version. No, not Zack Snyder. It's the other guy. So the original one comes out, and it's Dominion. Is what it's called.
Dominion.
D. Snyder. Yes.
Oh, D. Snyder. I thought you were making a joke because the Zack Snyder cut comes out tomorrow. So.
Right.
Yeah. So
yes. Tomorrow from when we tape.
From when we're recording this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So by now you already know it's terrible. So you can cut this. By now you already know it's great.
Okay, yes, exactly.
Just pick whichever takes accurate.
I'll edit that. I promise. So so both of those prequels were awful. But then the next thing they do is they do a TV series. Now, personally, I loved the TV series. I thought it was great.
This
it was 2 seasons.
More recent one.
Yeah. Did you get to see it, Blake?
No, but I remember something my father told me, which was if they had made a TV series out of Titanic, it would still be sinking right now. So that's what I was like.
It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Go and watch it.
Should I really?
Enjoyed these.
It is good.
I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
How
I
many
thought they were really good.
episodes?
It's 2 seasons, so
2 seasons,
probably
like
26 or something.
Okay.
But it is good and it's fun. There's a lot of
and there. Okay,
great
so
reveals.
it's a prequel set in the 70s.
No, it is modern day.
Okay, it's a prequel set in the nows.
It's not a prequel.
It's not a prequel. Okay, it's a series based on what?
You'll see.
Okay.
Let's just say that the demon is the same.
Okay.
And he is actually called out by name. And then there's two other characters actually that are the same that get revealed later who they are. And it's a bit unexpected and it's great. I really enjoyed it. And the
very
two
modern
priests,
day version too. I think
but they have the old priest and the young priest. Kind of.
So like now it's modern. So like if there's when the demon makes people vomit, it's like organic, gluten-free pieces.
Right. Or it's like Monster Energy drink or something like that.
Yeah, right.
But so yeah, it's good. But then you have the other great one, and I'm gonna share my screen because this was a remake, I guess you could say. It's the only way I can think to call it. So now this is the scene. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, right.
So this is the scene, and this is a Turkish version.
The Turkish one.
Now, this is not The Exorcist. In no way is this The Exorcist. They make no claim that this is The Exorcist. It's called Satan.
It's called not The Exorcist.
Yes. But this is the scene where the young priest sees the young girl for the first time.
All right.
She's in a closet.
Bed looks familiar.
Yeah, it does.
She's got cornflakes glued to her face.
Geçmiş olsun Gül. Ben annenin bir arkadaşıyım. Hastalığının ne olduğunu söyleyebilir misin bana? Sana yardım etmek istiyorum.
I love that wallpaper.
Bileklerimdeki şu bağları çöz.
Belki o zaman canını acıtırsın.
Öyleyse sus, konuşma.
Am I supposed to see that tube going up her nose?
Yes, because the tube was in her nose in The Exorcist as well.
That was like an IV, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
It was like, yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure it wasn't like a special effect blood thing. So,
Yeah,
but
this is how the puke is going to come out. They're going to push it up her nose and out her mouth. But
well, that's absolutely nothing like The Exorcist. Nothing.
No. I mean, why did you show that? Make no similarities.
Just a filler. It's just filler.
I like the name too.
It is, yeah. But this is a shot for shot remake, and it is.
And they never got
hilarious.
sued.
Yeah, it was attempted, but since it was in Turkey, I guess the laws, and they just said no, not us. And
they said get stuffed.
Yeah, basically.
In Turkish, yeah.
Oh, God. So that was a very interesting one. And then we also had.
Have you seen the whole thing? Is it?
I have sat through the entire thing.
You're a dedicated fan.
Or a complete idiot. Could go either way. Now, we also have the parodies. So I'm sure you've seen the scene from Scary Movie 2.
Music's familiar.
I bet we should talk about that music. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the music, it is. Oh, sorry.
And I will be bleeping out things that need to be bleeped out. So
blept is the past form of bleep.
Yeah. So the music, what do we know about that? Because it is very iconic, and just to hear that being played with the fall weather in the background is it's very, very chilling.
Well, the original soundtrack, I think the story is that the composer turned it over to Billy Friedkin, and Friedkin listened to it and then chased him out of the building, throwing the tapes at him. Hated it. So he went himself and licensed Tubular Bells for that music that is so iconic. And Tubular Bells is actually about 20 minutes long.
It's long.
Part
it's
one.
long.
And I love it. It's great. It's a great piece of music.
That's Mike Oldfield, is that right?
Yes, Mike
He's
Oldfield.
a multi-instrumentalist. I think he played everything that's in that music. It's all
Yes.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. It's a really great piece.
Yep. And if you haven't heard it, I love the Piltdown Man section. You have to hear that part. That's great. He gets extra drunk for that part in the
I've only heard it digitally, so I've never like seen it on a piece like an album with track like sections broken out. So I've only heard it as one big long play with no names on it.
You could probably just do a quick YouTube search and look for Mike Oldfield Piltdown Man, and you'll find that section.
Nice.
It is great. But yeah, so the music was wonderful, and then he just brought in all these little bits and pieces, you know, for the scenes and you know, throughout the original score. So, and I think it was great. Not having the typical kind of score behind it actually created extra tension, I think. So I definitely appreciate that. And then we have another one. See, now Linda Blair was haunted, so to speak, by this movie for a long time, and it caused her even some psychological problems. So
even more than Rick Springfield.
Yeah. Yep. Well, there might have been some hand in hand with that. I don't know. She did a movie as kind of a bit of therapy.
Oh yeah, I remember that with Leslie Nielsen.
Long ago,
yes.
An entire world watched as a little girl and a holy exorcist battled and cast out the devil himself. But now, Linda Blair's been repossessed. And this is the only man who could possibly save her.
So yeah, doing a comedy is how Linda Blair got some therapy to try to just exercise herself of the bad juju that she felt was following her after doing this movie.
I think, haven't you mentioned too that Billy Friedkin played some tricks on the actors, so kind of a bit like Hitchcock, and in the way that he
did. There was a lot of on-set
to get them to act
emote.
a certain way.
Yeah, there's a lot of on-set abuse. He fired guns and stuff like that to try to get reactions out of them. The priest that played Father Dyer got a really nice smack across the lips at the end to get him to do those last rites in a really tense manner. He was doing the last rites, but what he wanted to do is make Billy Friedkin need the last rites. So yeah, it was not the best set to be working on, I think. I mean, Max von Sydow said that he found him stimulating, but you would expect that from such a classical actor like Max. But everybody else is like, that's some bitch. They did not like him at all.
But I know that after the film, and like actually fairly recent, maybe like I think it was like 2017, 2018, Friedkin did a new documentary where he went with an actual Catholic priest and documented an exorcism, and it was called The Devil and Father Amorth.
Yep.
And I haven't had a chance to watch it. I've added it to my collection, so it's on my watch list. Well, I heard that like it gives like real footage of the exorcism, but also he takes the footage to people to examine it, and they explain how some of it may have been faked and like it's influenced by people's belief. And I think that's the film itself, The Exorcist, really sort of created a template for people to know how to behave in an exorcism. And it's I don't know what things were like before this. I'm sure they were interesting, but this is really changed, like the whole thing about convulsions and speaking in a deep voice and making weird sounds, and it's all become, if you watch like a modern exorcism in America, at least they seem to follow this movie, even if they're not Catholics doing it. The people who are possessed, air quotes, are going through these sort of these activities as though clearly influenced by this film.
Well, you bring up a great point. Karen and I have actually witnessed several exorcisms done by Bob Larson.
That was exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah. And
we've
it's
seen
funny.
him a number of times.
Yeah. And when you go in, when you're filing into the room, he's got a video playing of him doing exorcisms. And
so he really
gives you,
in case you missed it, here's what you're going to be going through.
Exactly.
This is how you role play.
Right. Exactly.
So he's giving everybody the suggestions they need to be able to pull off. And it is funny because there's a lot of people that are really hoping that they're going to be the ones possessed. I think
it's like going to see one of those hypnosis shows and
pick me.
Yeah. Stage,
or you want to be the magician's assistant for this one trick. And people are desperate to find absolution. And so they're I think
that they do go there believing. I mean, that the people that we've seen, I think that they were religious and they were absolutely going in with drug problems, alcohol problems, relationship problems, and they were looking for a solution. And absolutely, the videos, they were priming them to know how to respond and to give a good show to everyone as well, because they were, I think, filming part of that too. And
I'm sure he's like a professional wrestler, or when you're the amateur level, you film everything you do, so you get your highlight reel together.
Yeah, he had a highlight reel, that's for sure. But I remember there was a woman that was sitting in front of us, and she had some problems. I mean, she didn't know whether to blame herself or blame a demon for the things she had done, obviously. And she was sitting there growling, trying to get his attention, me, and he looked at her and kind of just shook his head and moved on.
Wow.
So it was kind of funny. And
he was definitely looking for a type of person. He knew what he was searching for and who would react appropriately and give a good performance so that he could get more donations from the congregation.
Yeah, and it worked well for him. But you're exactly right. That whole template is huge in making these things seem authentic, no doubt. So, but with this, taking it from there, we've got this true story supposedly that takes place in was it 1949?
1949, and it's a little confusing too because there are different names and different places. I think he's referred to as Roland Doe or Ronald Doe or Richard, and some sources say that this happened in Washington and others say it happened in St. Louis, but I think it might have actually happened because this happened over the course of months as well. Right. In The Exorcist, everything really happens in one night. They have this
in a house,
right? And that just happens over the course of a few hours. Comparatively, in this true story, I think it's over 2 months, and I think that and again another difference is that this happened to a boy, so not to a 13-year-old girl, but to I think 12 or 13-year-old boy.
Right. It starts in Maryland, in Mount Rainier. Rainier. Anyway, it looks like Rainier, but anyway, it starts in that area, but he ends up going to St. Louis where his aunt lives, I believe, and he's being treated. He didn't like his situation. He wanted to get away from the school he was in and a bunch of other things, but he goes to St. Louis, and there he's treated for psychological issues for a mental health program, but also by various priests from different sort of sects. I guess there's Lutheran and Catholic.
Lutheran and Episcopal.
So ultimately, they do see a bunch of phenomenon. If you look at the original, like the contemporary news stories, they describe it as being the work of the devil, but they also describe it as being very similar to a poltergeist case. And it's interesting. It starts with a dripping water sound and scratches in the wall, things being thrown around,
reminiscent of the Enfield poltergeist.
Yeah, very much so.
Or the Enfield poltergeist is reminiscent of,
more flip that around. Exactly, chronologically. But I do think it's interesting because I don't know. I don't think his family was Catholic, but
I don't think they were.
The things he was doing, are all very, very, very familiar to anybody who's ever read about a poltergeist case. And I always find that fascinating because they're the kind of cases as investigators we want to see. We want to see cases where things are happening, things are flying around the room and people are being thrown around and furniture's moving. That sounds exciting. That's something to look at.
And that was a big part of the claims as well, that furniture was moving and that he was strapped down in a chair or something and the chair levitated, and that multiple times he'd be in bed and the bed would start shaking or the bed would just move across the room. But I did think it was a little disturbing too that in the true story, I think that this young boy had stayed with the priest in question for a couple of nights, or even it could have been a couple of weeks. And it was only then that he was convinced of the phenomena. And I just thought, it's just a bit suspicious to have a young boy stay with a priest.
This was a simpler time, Karen.
Yeah. This was exactly
things like
when
that
that
weren't
kind
reported.
of thing was going on.
Yeah. So simpler time.
What's happened is since the original effects happened, there's a diary. Multiple authors have reported of having read a diary of the priests who were performing this stuff, and 2 different books have come out about that. Well, probably more than that, but 2 that I'm aware of that sort of, one kind of unveils who the real person was who was having this stuff happen, and the other one goes into a great deal of detail about what went on during the actual exorcism, which again took place over weeks and weeks, not overnight. And ultimately, according to everybody involved, as far as I've read, the boy is cured of his situation, whatever that is. There were all kinds of speculation for mental health issues, and in addition to the supernatural. And he went on to have a very normal life from everything we've been able to find. I don't think he was ever interviewed again the rest of his life.
I think you can trace him to his true name, and you can trace the address.
I did dig up his name and his address, but I'm in no way wanting to dox him.
Well, didn't he pass away? I think he may have. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I think he's still alive.
Might have at this point.
Well, COVID,
yeah, definitely. But the actual address, some people have found it, and of course the people that are living there, or actually I think the house may have been more recently torn down.
And, the one in Maryland's definitely gone. From my understanding.
But that address has been out there, and his name has been out there as well. And
it's like Amityville. Like the story's over, but people still find ways to get a book out of it. And I mean,
and people want to go legend tripping, and
people want to legend trip. People want to see the original bed that he was in. That kind of thing. It's like,
and that was another thing too. Wasn't there scratches and welts that would appear on his skin?
Right.
And I think in the movie, the words "help me" appear. Coming out of her stomach.
That's really common for that kind of experience, for people to be able to. But you can just take your fingernail and scratch on yourself, and it'll turn red later and raise up. So I mean,
and it does seem like he was a troubled kid, and that he might have been having issues at home, and he could have been cutting himself. He could have been.
If he's alive now, if he happens to run into this, I bet if he doesn't want to be talked to, he probably doesn't want to see any of this. But I hope he's doing okay. I really do. And we're not going to get anything definitive out of him. We've already seen, at least in his defense, he's not cashing in on it, because goodness gracious,
there'd be a lot to cash in on.
Yeah.
But there has been at least a movie or 2 on just his story.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it. It was either The Possessed or Dominion or Dominus or one of those. I can't remember what it was called, but it was,
Dominatrix, was that
in
my head?
That's you.
Well, by coincidence, the Travel Channel. I think this is very funny to me. The Travel Channel has been doing a series of what I can only say is extremely pro paranormal documentaries about various topics. They just did one. The series is called Shock Docs. And they did one. It was extremely, the word hagiographic. It's like when you make saints out of people. It's kind of like that for the Warrens. But the one they just dropped last week was on The Exorcist and the true story of the Roland Doe exorcism. So I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but I'm going to track it down.
I have to check that out.
If it lives up to what the Warrens one was like, it'll be a real treat for skeptics. Yeah. So
it seems like one of the things that's kind of dropped out of the story, and I don't know why, was that first. I don't know if he's a Lutheran pastor. The family's pastor that was kind of checking him out. I believe it was him that he was, trying to test the kid and find out if he was possessed, and the kid actually ripped a bed spring out of the bed and stabbed him with it.
Wow.
And that has since dropped out of the more current stories or retellings anyway of it. And I think that's interesting.
Was he hurt or did he bounce back?
Well, the doctors did say he was highly strung.
That's right.
Bad influence. But yeah, it is.
Both of them recoiled. But
all right, so that's been a great episode.
It's just interesting to me that the book and the movie are based on this true story, and whatever the truth is, and that this kind of thing wasn't supposedly taking place so much before, and yet following the movie and the book, this is just such a common thing and such a popular thing now. I mean, the church still maintained that they have to exhaust every possible natural avenue, which is a skeptical premise, before they would perform an exorcism. But it just seems like since the movie and the book came out, that this kind of thing has been very popular, certainly in pop culture and folklore, and people looking to that as a possible explanation and form of treatment for whatever is ailing them in real life.
And excuse.
Well, it's if you look at the timing,
Devil made me do it.
This came out, not even 10 years after Vatican Council II, which had done a lot towards sort of renovating Catholic doctrine. It seems like there were two real big forces, like one wanting to say, okay, the Bible is a beautiful, poetic book about how God loves us. And then there's always been that, no, the Bible is a very literal, true story about the devil and how he's trying to get us. And so sort of the liberal, rational, I believe in a deity that loves me, and but this book was written by humans. That group was kind of getting a little push forward, and then suddenly out comes The Exorcist, and like, no, the devil's real. He's real. He's after us, and he can take over your kids if you're not baptized. You can get possessed, and it literally put that fear of the devil, back into the narrative in the public discourse. That and Rosemary's Baby, both of those had kind of sort of like, and then I guess The Omen. There's like those sort of the triumvirate of movies that this stuff's real and it's going to get you.
Well, I think Matt had said to me before that this even sent a lot of people to Catholicism, or lapsed Catholics sent them back to church, and had a lot of people converting to Catholicism.
And a lot of exorcism requests.
You could draw the line straight from puke to pews. Yep.
Yeah.
Copyright.
that mind never stops, does it, Blake? You never stop. But the book was amazing, and what Blatty did is he wrote a screenplay.
Yeah,
and brought it to Friedkin.
It's very, very close to what you see on the screen.
And what he brought to Friedkin though wasn't. It was very overwrought with Catholic imagery and all kinds of subtext, and
he was Catholic, wasn't he?
He very, very, very. In fact, he ended up suing Georgetown within the Catholic system because he said that they were out of whack with Catholic doctrine, like promoting abortion and other stuff. So yeah, he's very, very, very Catholic, but he was also very funny and a very good screenwriter.
Well, and he wrote comedies, and they were great comedies.
Really good. Like he wrote the Shot in the Dark, which was the second Pink Panther movie. So it's, he's really funny, but he also,
and that was one of the wonderful things about The Exorcist are the funny scenes, the stuff between.
There's some humor in it.
Like
there is some funny stuff.
The crucifix, the one between Karras and Kinderman when they're out on
their whole relationship about watching movies all the time, always talking about movies is great. That's good stuff.
They're very good. But
I think you need that. you need that levity because it's just such a stressful,
the relief
film
of the comedy. But that was the thing is his first screenplay was terrible, and Friedkin just opened up the book and started highlighting things. Yeah. So this movie is ripped from the pages of the book.
If you do the if you get the audio book, it's actually read by Blatty, and he does a fantastic job. It's really, really good. I don't think, I mean, as a skeptic, the events that happened in 49, most of them seem very plausibly explained away by natural phenomena, trickery, and all kinds of other things, combined with the religious people having a motivation to accept, a religious explanation for what happened. But if you look at the book, he's done a really nice job of mishmashing all the best out, it's the best of, and then amping it up a little bit. And then when you read like the real account and then you read the novel, if you're going to emulate something, the movie's the way to go. The movie and the novel are like very exciting, so I just think that, I think there's been a huge impact from this film in the way that it affected horror movies, and the way that it affected horror audiences, and the way that it affected our religious perceptions of evil. I mean, it's had an enormous impact.
Absolutely.
I'm still super skeptical of all of it, but I still enjoy it as a work of fiction. So
yeah. And what do you think? They're going to do a reboot of The Exorcist. What do you think? Leave it alone, or can we improve on it?
I think in some ways it can be improved upon because it is so dated. I think it'd be interesting to see it rebooted. So when's this coming out?
I have no further information other than there's a group of fans that are outraged and a group of fans that can't wait. And I will go. I'll go see it.
I'll probably see it, but I guess the thing is, if there's this tendency to move things into the modern times, and I think much of the things that happen in that film only work because they happen in a time when we didn't have cell phones and VHS and all these other things why didn't they film that? Why didn't they, why didn't he call? Why didn't he say, text me?
They might set it at that time.
It's not supposed to be a remake.
Yeah.
So that means it may not follow the book the way the original did. But it's like the TV series is set in modern times, and there are people with cell phones, that are out there, in this remake, or in this reimagining, I guess you'd say, that are, using their cell phones to get pictures and video and everything else. And I do recommend you go watch the series.
Yeah, I would say that, so as far as remakes go and reboots go, I have so many friends who work in that industry. I'm glad to see them get work. So good job, so good luck.
Yeah.
The original work will still be there if you don't like the new thing, Yeah.
And Gina Davis will be doing mocap for all of it. And all the voices.
It's another classic film. And so what one are we going to be focusing on next for the next episode of the Based on a True Story? Where I think we were talking about Amityville.
Well, Amityville's one. We got Fire in the Sky if we want to shift gears a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
I like Amityville a lot. I mean, it's
I'm happy to do that next.
And plus, you've got that special video effect you can use. So
yeah, yep. We have a red background.
Jody.
You get Jody Cam.
I can do Jody. I'll give them a little preview right now. Yeah, I'll tease a little Jody Cam, just so everyone's totally excited to see.
That is really terrifying. Yeah,
I'm not a pig.
Yeah. And still, I do like these though.
Those are nice. Yeah.
So, or we could do Pirates of the Caribbean. Isn't that based on a true story?
Based on a true story.
This is going too far now.
Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was fun talking about this movie. It's a real classic.
And Matt, thanks for bringing your fandom here. It's good.
Yeah.
All right.